And welcome back to video 2 of lesson 6.1 on functions. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to draw mapping diagrams and we're going to describe their patterns. So draw a mapping diagram and then describe the pattern of inputs and outputs. Please make sure your pen and pencils are down. You are looking and listening first, and then we'll move from there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this graph that has these ordered pairs plotted on this graph, and I'm going to make my ordered pairs. So the first one I see right here, the first one is at 1, 8. So my first ordered pair is 1, 8. My second ordered pair is 3, 6. And my third ordered pair is 5, 4. So there are my ordered pairs. Now I'm going to draw my mapping diagram. Remember, I have my input and my output. And I'm going to list my inputs, 1, 3, 5. And I'm going to put this thing around it. Yeah, I'm not a very good drawer. I'm not good at drawing. And I'm going to make my outputs 8, 6, 4. And I'm going to draw this around here. And then I'm going to connect these inputs with these outputs by drawing the arrows. Voila. Okay, so I've done the first part. I've drawn a mapping diagram. And now I'm going to describe the pattern of the inputs and the outputs. So let's look at our inputs first. And I see in my inputs that I go from 1 to 3 to 5. That means it's increasing. So as x increases by 2, I can see it's going up by 2 from 1 to 3 to 5. Let's see what's happening with our output. Of course, our output is y. And we're going from 8 to 6, from 6 to 4. So that means it's going down by 2. So as x increases by 2, y decreases by 2. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the description. That's describing what is happening between our inputs and our outputs. Make sense? All right, write that down then, and then join me for our next one. Let's once again draw a mapping diagram and then describe the pattern of inputs and outputs. So of course the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to list my ordered pairs to make my mapping diagram from. So my first one, now one thing I got to make sure of, you cannot just assume. You have to be a thinker and an observer. I noticed here my x-axis is going by 1s, but my y, I just noticed, is not. My y-axis is going by 2s. As you can see, right here is -2, -4. So each unit represents 2. So when I see this dot in between, I'm going to say that that's at -2, -3. So my first ordered pair is -2, -3. My second one is -1, 0. My third one is 0, 3. That's my third one. My fourth one is at 1, 6. And the last one is at 2, 9. Okay. So I can see there is no input number that has more than one output. So I know that this relation is a function. I didn't talk about that on the last one, but just talking about what we learned in the first video. There is no input that has more than one output, so we do have a function here. So let's make our mapping diagram of our inputs, outputs. And let's see, I'm going to list my inputs, -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. Bingo. And I'm going to list my outputs, -3, 0, 3, 6, and 9. Pretty straightforward stuff. And then, of course, I connect my inputs and my outputs by drawing these lines. And I can see that there is only one arrow going from each input, so I know we have a function. And now let's describe the relationship between the inputs and the outputs. What is actually happening in this pattern? We go from -2 to -1 to 0 to 1 to 2. So x is increasing by 1. So as x increases by 1, let's see what's happening with y. Y goes from -3 to 0, from 0 to 3, from 3 to 6, and from 6 to 9. So that means it's increasing by 3. All right. Y increases by 3. And yes, you can have them both increase. They could both be decreasing. You can have one increase and one decrease. Makes absolutely no difference. We can see in this function relation, x increases by 1, y increases by 3. Go ahead and write that down and join me on the next slide. All right, ladies and gentlemen, determine whether the relation is a function, and then if yes, describe the pattern of inputs and outputs in the mapping diagram. Okay, so the first thing we have to determine, is it a function? Does each input have exactly one output? And as you can see, there's only one arrow coming from each, so there is no input that has more than one output. So yes, this is a function. Yes, it is a function. And now we have to describe the pattern of inputs to outputs. So the first thing we're going to do is look at our inputs. From 3 to 4, from 4 to 5, and 5 to 6. Well, as x increases by 1, I can see that's going up by 1. My y value, from 36 to 48, 48 to 60, 60 to 72. It sounds like y increases by 12. Outstanding. Ladies and gentlemen, it's pretty much that straightforward on our functions and relations today. So we decided what is a function by looking and examining, do our inputs have exactly one output? We've taken our ordered pairs and made our mapping diagrams. We've looked at our mapping diagrams and our ordered pairs, and we've described the pattern of the inputs to the outputs. We've done a lot today. Ladies and gentlemen, our last quick write on your insert for your quick writes, you have this mapping diagram, so you have this graph of ordered pairs, which you need to make a mapping diagram from, and then describe the pattern of inputs to outputs. After you finish that, ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful night. Please, please, please make sure that you are putting in an awesome effort, that you are completing and autographing your notes with excellence. Go back through them, decide, do you have any questions you need to ask me? And if so, make sure that when you come to class, you ask those questions. Thank you so much for your attendance tonight, your participation, your attitude, your effort. It's all going to lead to your success as you develop your character and your intelligence. Ladies and gentlemen, always a pleasure. I'll see you tomorrow.